only think Chris Hill, Darryl Clark are that good, and Ashton Sims has played that well. And a back three, well, two of the back three that can just punish you at a drop of a hat.
Yeah.
Against a Wigan side that has been terrible in attack all year.
Yeah.
That many will say don't deserve to be here. Even though all of those people probably would have predicted them to be here, they just haven't got here in the way everyone would have expected. Our attack's been awful. We've been boring to watch a lot of the time. I think in the eights, it might surprise people to learn that Wigan scored more points than any other team and had a better plus-minus points difference than any other team. So it has been addressed to an extent.
Yeah.
We've seen set play starting to come back into it, and also ad-lib play that excites people more than we saw it through, more of both of those things than we saw throughout the entire regular season.
Yeah.
But it's not fully fixed, and we know that. I don't think the quality of Wigan's star names is the same as the quality of, say, Chris Hill, Darryl Clark, Ashton Sims, Kurt Gidley, Stefan Ratchford.
Yeah. Matty Russell.
No, I won't throw him into that.
One you want.
But what Wigan do have,
Kevin Penny.
with Curry out, Wigan have the best two fit second rows in the country.
Yeah.
In Bateman and Farrell. They have the fittest side in Super League by a mile. They have one of the most exciting players in George Williams. They have one of the most entertaining players in Anthony Gelling, and they have one of, if not the most resilient back in the entire competition in Dan Sargentson.
God.
And that's not even mentioning Josh Charnley, who's been as good as any winger has in Super League outside of Denny Solomona over the whole piece, over the 30 games. I'm always going to go with Wigan.
Yeah.
I would not obviously be shocked if we lost. Warrington have been a great side all year and are a great side. I just don't want to see... I just think that too much has gone... I just think that this side's too resilient. It's too much of a team. It's too much...
Yeah.
It's performing too well in terms of every 1%er that exists in the world of rugby league. This side are doing it better than every other side right now.
And I think that goes in your favour is, despite the fact that you were talking about, the strength of Warrington's front row compared to the relative weakness, but there's a difference in kind of that. There's some world-class performance in that, and there's some good performance in that one. But actually, your pack and your lack of size has still been, over the last few weeks, standing up to big, strong packs and coming away with victories. So that could work very much. That could work in your favour, and send you on the road to that victory. I just don't see it happening for long enough stints of the game against that pack. The period of the game where I think this will go in Warrington's favour, or Warrington will turn it on, will be that second portion of the game when Darryl Clark tends to up his performance, and that period of time when Chris Hill comes back on for his second stint. That's usually when it feels for me like Warrington just kind of go and click into that full motor, and that's where I think it could. Oftentimes with Warrington, I feel that's where the games get won and lost.
I expect actually at that time of the game, Warrington will need to be chasing the game in the last 20 minutes. I feel that's my suspicion of how it's going to be.
You've got to get them in that position,
and I think in that position, Wigan will. There'll be loose scraps for some of the young players in the backs, and like Lewis Tierney and Oliver Gildart to feed off there, I think, and I think they'll show star quality that will get Wigan a win. I'm going to tip Wigan to win 28 points to 14.
Well, there you go. Okay, well, we did have some other predictions.
Did you give your prediction?
Yes, 23 points to 22. Kurt Gidley drop goal. Kurt Gidley drop goal. Chris Macy got in touch. He said it's going to be bloody close. Going to stick my neck out and say Warrington 22 points to 20 and put a new name on the trophy. Colin Render says Wigan by a Matty Smith drop goal. Surely they can't lose 3 in a row. Wally Frogmore, why have I 4 and the future immortal? I'm sure he means Kurt Gidley for man of the match. Paul Ludo Lewis, I'm avoiding rugby league and Twitter until next season if Wire win. That's much a statement. That's more of a statement than a prediction there. I'm sure he thinks that Wigan will would like to see Wigan win.
I think it's Wigan and Widnes fans against everyone else, but there's a few Saints fans, obviously, with the way it went on for Thursday night. That are actually.
I have no strong emotion about either team winning. I'm just, in a lot of senses, because I know what Twitter's going to be like for a few days afterwards. I'd rather see you lads win it, but I'm being as pragmatic as I can, and being, I'm being a true rugby league broadcaster and going with what I think rather than what I hope for. Bob Phillips has Warrington lead by 8 at half time, but the Whiteside take it by 2 with 4 to go, and Wire can't do a coup cash on them despite the final score. Chris Hill gets the Lance Todd after making 204 metres and a try. That is exceptionally specific. I think Bob Phillips has a Grays Sports Almanac in a safe somewhere in his house if he's coming out with stuff like that. But what is for certain is it's going to be a very exciting game in prospect, and with some luck then the players will live up to that on the field and serve up something similar to what we saw in the NRL, or something similar to what we saw in the semis.
I hope so.
Me too. Right, well that is Super League Pod 120 taken care of. All that we need to do now is wrap up the show. Alright, so we're wrapping up the 120th Super League pod, and as we've been recording this evening, it's been the Super League Awards night down at Old Trafford. Mark, what news have you got for us from Old Trafford?
Well, everyone will have seen that listens to this
show. We're only breaking this to ourselves, really, aren't we?
But no, it's worth getting our reaction in, because then we don't have to wait a whole week to cover it off and be miles behind the time. But we... Well, the big 3 awards are what we'll give our opinion, I suppose. So Lee Radford, Tom, he's won Coach of the Year alongside Hull FC, getting Club of the Year too. Big night for Hull FC. Tom Johnston has won the Young Player of the Year award, and Danny Houghton completed the Hull hat trick with Man of Steel. Yeah,
no, I think they're all very well deserved. And to be fair, with all those nominees, you can argue a very strong case for all of them, and it's fine margins, isn't it? I think Radford has done a tremendous job at Hull FC. I know they've recruited heavily and they've spent well, but you still have to mould that into a team that plays well, and the improvement in their performances from where they were last season to having Hull's most successful Super League season means that that's deserved for me, particularly given the fact that at the start of the season a lot of people were writing him off as a coach and just were giving him short shrift. He's shown what application and hard work and sticking to your guns can achieve, and congratulations to him. I think Tom Johnston's an exceptionally exciting proposition, and we were talking last week about how I feel, given the same kind of developmental path as someone like Denny Solomona, we could be talking about him in the same try scoring terms over the next 2 years. And Danny Houghton, for me, is a very justified Man of Steel candidate. He's been a very strong, more than above average player for a few years now. What he's had the opportunity to do this season is have some of the pressure taken off him in terms of performance, and within that he's flourished and actually gone on and had a very, very good season, where his play in terms of his attacking input and in terms of his driving Hull FC forward, not just his defensive play, has improved quite considerably, and that's made him a much more rounded player and a real asset to a very strong Hull side. So all deserved in my opinion. Yeah,
all worthy winners, certainly. Maybe not the way I would have gone.
No.
But Radford, I think if we don't have a sloppy for Coach of the Year, because it's such a narrow field that it almost ended up being too one-sided anyway to have any interest in the conversation. I think we all sort of completely understand why Lee Radford got this award. Tom Johnston is an interesting one. He's certainly a great prospect and very entertaining to watch. Silky runner of the ball, good try scorer, and with age and development and strengthening and consistency will come, and he could become, like you say, a phenomenal try scorer. So well deserved. It's certainly enjoyable to watch, and it's good to see Wakefield getting recognised with an award there. Danny Houghton wouldn't have been my choice out of the 3, as we said last week. I would go for Denny Solomona personally, but you can't argue with what Danny Houghton put out there on the field this season, and he's had a great season, so well done to him as well.
There you go. SLP recommends. What have we got for us this week, Mark?
Right, the first thing is a book called Broken Dreams by Tom Bauer, I think, or Bauer.
Okay.
It's about greed and corruption within football.
Okay.
Essentially, it's more looks at a 1990s late 80s, 1990s time frame mostly. But given the Sam Allardyce stuff that kicked off whilst we were recording last week and flowed sort of through that sort of time frame.
Yeah. I cannot wait for that film, by the way, when they do the Sam Allardyce movie, because that's going to have to be made into a movie, isn't it? That's 69 Days or whatever it's called. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah,
I'll rabbit hole in.
That's what's made me think of that book. I read the book about 3 or 4 years ago.
Right, I see.
So that's made me think of it. And then the other thing is a thing that I've spotted popping up on social media the last couple of weeks that I've not seen before, but it's absolutely hilarious. It's not rugby league related. It's related to the more tedious round ball sport of football, association football. But it's Paddy Power's fan denial. Have you seen this?
No. Is it Twitter or is it Facebook?
You just get it on any of the social media things. I think I've seen it on Twitter.
Okay.
It's absolutely. I don't know. I can't work out if it's real or not because it treads that line of fans are that stupid.
Yeah.
People are that hilarious. It is that ridiculous, but it genuinely laugh out loud hilarity. Get on it basically.
Do you have is there a Twitter handle for it or anything?
If you just go for Paddy Power.
Oh, okay, that's the thing they do, is it?
Yeah.
Right. I see.
Hashtag, or if you go hashtag fan denial, it might even come up.
Oh yeah.
Search for that, but it's definitely worth checking out. They're brilliant.
Superb. I'm gonna have a good look at that. I've just seen it, and
the short clips. Yeah. One each week about sort of fan reactions to the weekend's games. But they're brilliant. Yeah. How about yourself?
Superb. I have a dozen recommend this week, Mark, because normally I bring TV shows and Netflix and the odd book and the occasional drink and biscuits. I don't know what Wilco's going to eat this week. To be honest with you, poor old Mark, he's in trouble. But I do not recommend the new series of Red Dwarf on Dave. I was a big fan of Red Dwarf when I was a kid, and I seem to recall it being a work of genius when I was about 12. But they're just all a bit old now.
Craig Charles is going to be at the grand final.
Is he?
The DJ in between the bits.
He's playing a bit of George Formby. He looks a million. It's not as funny as it was, and the production value, if anything, is slightly higher in terms of the effects and stuff. And the one thing I would say about it, I do still enjoy. I like the outside Red Dwarf shots, and I do still like the music and things like that. But that's all stuff that harkens back to what I enjoyed about it, which was Dwayne Dibley and Ace Rimmer and all that fun stuff.
The dialogue in the show don't quite hit the mark as well. Yeah,
it just all feels a bit safe. And a bit sort of softly done. So sorry, Red Dwarf, but if you're listening to this and you're on the cusp of thinking, oh well, I'll check out the new series of Red Dwarf, you're gonna have to be an absolute diehard to enjoy it. So there might be better ways of utilising 22 minutes. I would go so far as to suggest. But bigger things on the horizon. We've got the SLPies and the grand final coming up. How on earth can people get in touch with us and communicate and contribute to the zeitgeist of the Super League pod?
Well, next week, obviously with the grand final, I'll put up a Google form for match reviews, but we'll pretty much take them in any shape and form.
Yeah.
As long as I can easily identify them on Twitter at Super League Pod, Facebook.com/Super League Pod, superleaguepod@gmail.com. Then I'll take them, and I'll try and fit them in as much as I can do.
Yeah.
The big thing I want to push is fan reviews. We want to start to see them coming in. The sort of listeners, 3 or 4 minute clips reviewing their team's own season. Favourite players, favourite moments, favourite games, that sort of thing. Yeah. Whatever you want to throw in there about how your team has done this year, really. We will take those and put those into our season review show, which is probably going to come in 2 or 3 weeks' time.
Yes,
just before the internationals kick off.
Yeah.
So if we set should we set a deadline of a week on Sunday for those at this stage?
Yeah.
Does that seem like a good working target?
I think so. What, to sit down and record 5 minutes for your favourite rugby league podcast?
Well, no, to have sent them to us.
Oh yeah, 100%.
By a week on Sunday.
100%.
So that is the
week on Sunday is going to be the
October the 16th.
Yeah, you're right. Hold on.
And
don't know why I felt like I had to fact check you.
And get your votes in for the Super League Pod Awards, the SLPies.
Yes, you'll see the link to that.
Dream Team. There's 2 separate Google forms, both very quick and easy to complete. You don't have to do much thinking if you're happy to pick one of the options we've suggested for the awards.
That's it.
Other than for the listeners listener of the award, because we didn't want to preempt that in any way, shape or form. There is a big leader at the moment.
Is there really?
In the voting for that. So if your